Hi there, I'm Adam Kirbas and this is my novel, Listen. Lucy Knight is heading to the FBI headquarters. She still feels uncomfortable that she has to leave her home, her place, her safe haven to someone she barely knows. She needs to get off these thoughts. This is her life. She puts herself at risk. Who knows what this person might do? And she hates herself. She hates herself again and again. This is self-hatred. Self-hatred which makes days unbearable. Right at the moment she gets a phone call. It's Glenn Chase, her partner. He informs her that there is a homicide and that before she goes to the office, drives to the office, she should head straight to the homicide scene. It all appears as if they wanna make sure that Lucy does not come close to the FBI headquarters. As if they want to prevent that people see her, get a glimpse of her, who knows, who might be watching closely, who enters the FBI and who not. Maybe the media or anyone else you can think about are waiting for her right now. This all seems weird, but Lucy, she obeys. She has to comply. There is no other way. She is cornered. She's at retreat. And Glenn Chase, her reluctant partner, he doesn't seem to be thrilled working with her. In the beginning, Lucy can remember, in the beginning, Glenn courted her. He helped her. He was very forthcoming. He even made a lot of compliments on Lucy's beauty. But after he found out that Lucy has a lot of male admirers, this is what they call it, male admirers, and that Lucy would be engaged in many sexual adventures, things changed. Things changed dramatically. Glenn wasn't willing anymore to be around Lucy. He looked at her differently. He looked at her as someone looks at something disgusting, uncomfortable, something unsoothing. And Glenn was actually not the first choice to become Lucy's partner, but others had either the prowess to talk them out of working with Lucy, or that they had just influence, but no man wanted to work with her. Lucy ponders over these things. What is going to wait for her? She drives to the address Glenn gave her. She gets out of the car. Glenn is already waiting for her. And again, there is this look in his face. He stares at her. He stares at her mouth. Lucy heard one of those nasty things they say about her, that with her mouth she probably knows how to suck a dick. She heard what they say behind her back, that she probably got a job in the FBI because she's a tongue twister. And all the men laughed. And probably Glenn right at this very moment, thinks or imagines whose penis Lucy had in her mouth last night. Lucy somehow feels or assumes that maybe the FBI has close tabs on her. Maybe they know that she still can't free herself, that she still needs the attention, that she still needs someone to spend the night with. Maybe they know that she's mortally scared of being alone. Or they still assume that she's a sex addict, that she can't deal with her cravings. Lucy tries to greet Glenn cordially. There is no other way. You have to put in a smile, thinks Lucy to herself. I can't do anything. She occasionally thought maybe she should play hard cop. Maybe she should put on a severe facial expression. Maybe she should do anything against it. But then more and more she thought about it. And she came to the conclusion that she has nothing against him. She can't do nothing against him. Because once a woman is stamped as a whore, there is nothing she can do to change people's minds. Some man will avoid her, and there are of course men who will seek her vicinity just for the purpose to have a go on her. Whores are being considered easy to get into bed, and maybe they think that way of her. Glenn starts his report. The victim, Karen Leaves, 40, was found in her home, dead, and as it looks like, tortured. The neighbor, Mrs. Dawson, knocked. She knew Karen Leaves very closely. She knocked. There was no response. And that is why she opened the door and saw a gruesome sight. She immediately called the police. Forensics say that Karen Leaves died about 7 to 10 hours ago. Lucy looks at her watch. It is 7 a.m. in the morning. Very early. She's a very early starter. And she's thoughtful. Mrs. Dawson, who knocked in the morning, she didn't wait until there would be a sign of proof or whatever. She just opened the door with a spare key. This is all strange, because ordinary people wait. Maybe she would be sleeping. Glenn seems to have caught Lucy's thoughts, her doubts. Mrs. Dawson and Karen Leaves would always have breakfast together. And Karen was known to be depressive. She has been unemployed for 5 years. Lucy is thoughtful. She looks around in the neighborhood. It is an old, worn-down neighborhood. no fancy thing. And it actually doesn't happen common that you find dead people in these neighborhoods. Mostly on the streets. They die either on an overdose of drugs or they are being shot because some fuck thought they are wealthy or that they would have money. But when they try to rob them and figure out that they do not have anything at all, then some people lose it all. Lose it because of their despair, because of the life choices they made, whatever they have, because it is hopeless. And they pull the trigger. Lucy and Glenn ascend the stair. Every tread they made on the stair case makes a creaking sound. It is an old wood chair stair. It is outside. A wood stair that is outside, which is influenced by the weather, by summer heat, by winter heat. Wood works, despite the fact it was used and is used for the construction. Wood still works, it moves, because wood has still, after it was cut off from a tree or killed, if you want, has still some residue of humidity in it, and which leads to movements, or in some cases to distortions. So every step on the stair makes a creaking sound. So no matter who passed here, walked here, his threats are audible. Lucy imagines the murderer who probably either came here or left here at about 10-11 p.m. Someone must have heard him. But it is a very loud neighborhood. You can hear cars already, despite the fact that it is 7 a.m. You hear sirens, car horns. You hear some cars passing by, driving fast or very loudly. Lucy enters the home. It is a home, small apartment, nothing fancy. Lucy immediately gets aware of the dust lying around. It is a place that is not very cleaned. Quite often there is dust, even on the floor and in every corner. There is trash lying around, fast food, occasionally. And the home looks like someone probably didn't much care about interior design. There are drapes with different colors. The drapes are closed, another indication that it was night when the murderer came in here. But after all, this is a cheap furniture. And despite the fact that the victim was an unemployed, she was not a hoarder. So the apartment is scarcely furnished, as if it wouldn't have mattered anymore. And there are not enough chairs to comfort any guests. And after all, this apartment does not look like as if someone would have a lot of guests. Lucy wonders, was Mrs. Dawson really willing? Or was she really a close friend of Karen Leaves so that they would have breakfast every day in the morning? Did Karen know that someone else has a spare key to her apartment? Lucy looks around, and in the center of the room she sees a table. She sees Karen Leaves sitting on a chair in front of the table. She pays close attention to Karen Leaves. She was strangled. She can see the marks on her throat. She was strangled with a rope, with a thin rope, maybe with a shoelace. Karen's eyes were gouged, her ears were cut, and as it seems like through blood through her mouth, her tongue was cut off. But this was all done post-mortem, because or after her heart stopped pumping. That's why there is fewer blood. If the murderer would have cut off Karen's ears, nose, gouged her eyes and cut off her tongue while her heart was beating, then there would have been more blood. Lucy looks at the scene. It all seems like that she was tortured right before she died. But it is more likely that she was already dead, or didn't feel anything at all when her eyes were gouged, her ears cut off, and her tongue cut off. Lucy's thoughtful. What is this all about? Eyes, ears, and tongue. She looks at Karen's dress. She sees that Karen wears shoes in her home. The shoelaces are tied neatly. So Karen was in her home. She is unemployed for about 5 years. The neighbor, Mrs. Dawson, probably watched her very closely, who may be lying when she says that Karen was depressive and that she took care of it or was curious, whatever. But it is not likely that someone in his own home is dressed neatly for dinner. Karen is not dressed fancifully, just neatly. It seems like that this would be her Sunday dress, even though people who do not care about their appearances anymore, they have at least one dress, either to apply for jobs. You need something, even though they do not apply for jobs, they have one dress whatsoever, which they keep always neat in a shape. This dress sometimes is needed to fancy themselves, or even to give someone a motivation to move on, or give them mental support for any agony they get or they go through. Or these one fancy dresses are filled with all imaginations, with hopes and desires that in the future they will be able to change their current situation. These one fancy clothes or one good Sunday clothes sometimes even are filled with imagination that people would see a different kind of a person, a different perspective, that one would become a whole different person just through clothes, that one could change other people's opinion or other people's perception of oneself, or they are just plain simply Sunday church dresses. Even though people who have given up on faith still keep a Sunday church dress, maybe something might happen. People who have given up faith because of things happened in their life, of tragedy this happened in their life, they still have in their minds a hope that God will make up for it, that God will some sort of apologize for all that came their way, and they are sometimes just waiting for a sign, so that they can regain their faith. That's why they keep still a Sunday dress, even though they tell everyone that they have become atheists. They do not believe in God anymore, and they regret those times where they have ever believed in God and whatsoever. Lucy pays close attention. So the victim, Karen leaves, who normally eats fast food. This is one could immediately see at the trash lying around. She sits there on a dinner table, one chair. In front of her are dumplings. This is not probably her usual food, not to mention her favorite food. Dumplings, they look homemade. Lucy looks around. It does not appear as if those dumplings were made in the victim's home. They were brought with them. This could be a delivery guy who knew who the victim was. It is most likely that Karen ordered her fast food, and that maybe the murderer got plenty time to observe the victim, be around her, and Karen was unemployed for at least 5 years. So this could mean in these 5 years she has ordered a lot of times fast food through a delivery. And it could be that she met the same guy over and over again, that this guy even, or this person even entered her home. She even may have had conversations with him, because the victim's home looked like that she doesnshe have many friends at all, that she probably spent most of her days and most of her time in here. So she might have had the urge to talk with someone, tell someone about her worries. And then the murderer might have gotten to know Karen better and better. killing does not look like someone would be after money, because this is what you would assume, that the delivery guy who walks into a mansion or whatsoever would get greedy at the side of the mansion and would then make up plans to rob his customer of his wealth. But nothing in here seems to be valuable. In addition, this murder is a different kind of murder. It is a sadistic murder, as it seems. Lucy looks around. The dumplings bother her. It seems as if they would be for a special occasion. But a special occasion that is not very common or known for everyone. Maybe some sort of private. Many families have some private traditions. And these traditions, they are then honored with special food, and only they and close family members know about these foods, what belongs to these foods. This is like your favorite meal, your favorite dish. Only close friends know about them. And maybe there might be some tradition, for example, a tradition to honor a deceased relative who loved dumplings, and to eat dumplings a lot, and once in a year or whatever, the family honors this and commemorates this lost and diseased relative in eating dumplings. So the dumplings are out of place here, but still it appears that this is all festive, considering the dress and the tight shoes the victim is wearing. Her hair is tied to a ponytail. Even though she ordered, or normally would order, food from the delivery service, or would get her food from the delivery service, and as it appears mostly would eat alone in her home, most certainly in front of the TV. Lucy sees that the TV in the room is right opposite the couch, and the couch seems to be worn out, so that most of the time Karen was sitting on the couch watching TV, and it even looks like that she slept a lot on the couch. The surface of the couch is fretted, used. The couch seems to be very old. So why would the victim then wear her Sunday dress for food, and then for just not her ordinary food, maybe special occasion? The dumplings are in the center of the small table. In front of the victim is an empty plate which she has bled on. But it is a single dinner. It only implies that there would be a second plate, but there is a missing chair in front of it. Lucy looks around. She searches for the second chair. There is a second chair in the corner, and there is some stuff on this second chair. So in Karen's home, the second chair was not used very often. Another clue that Karen did not have many friends, or that she did not have many visitors, which makes it questionable. Why did Mrs. Dawson open the door, and that Mrs. Dawson most probably is lying about the nature of her friendship with Karen. Lucy looks closely at Karen. Something is bothering her. Despite the fact that this is a gruesome murder, the body posture of the victim seems to be relaxed. It is, of course, staged. Everything is staged. It is not normal that someone who has been strangled would sit on a chair. It is most likely that she fought her attacker, that her attacker attacked her from behind. But however, he prepared her in a special way after her death. And Lucy realizes that the victim sits there in a relaxed body position. She sits on the chair idly, cross-legged. Her hands are on her lap, and she seems to be staring out of the window. Lucy tries to fathom what she would be looking at, or what the murderer wanted the victim to look at. And the victim's head points towards a window. But if one looks through the window, one only sees a wall of the adjacent homes. So what is this all about? About a view, about looking beyond something, looking in the distance, seeing something in the distance. The victim's crossed legs and her relaxed body composure does not indicate as if she was supposed to scrutinize anything, or was supposed to detect some inconsistencies whatsoever, but just to stare out of the idly. And again, Lucy looks at the dumplings. It all looks like that the victim stares beyond it, beyond what is here, beyond what is close, beyond of the meaning of this special occasion. Lucy looks at the hands of the victims. She scrutinizes them and sees that Karen has dirt under her fingernails. So she did not pay much attention of cleanliness. And Lucy takes a whiff of Karen's body odor. She smells, she reeks, and she smells sweat, body odor, as if Karen hadn't taken a shower for a while. It is actually normal that people who have been strangled sweat profusely right before they die, because your body is in panic mode. Adrenaline is pumped through your veins. Your body wants to fight the attacker, and your body gives you the means to fight the attacker who is strangling you. So that all senses are in alert. And then when life more and more, piece by piece, is sucked out of you. The human body starts to sweat profusely, and your heart rate goes up and up. So it is normal for victims who have been strangled to sweat a lot. But Lucy sees and detects that the victim did not pay much attention to her body cleanliness, and the killer did not wash her. So this is not about to maintain a memory, a serene and pure memory. Many serial killers, they kill people not to end something, but to maintain something, to keep and conserve a moment, a memory, an idea. And they mostly prepare the victim in that way. They want to keep this memory because for many psychopaths, emotions, human interactions, feelings, that these things are always perceived as fading, as transitory. Human mind is transitory because many psychopaths or many people who have psychopathic inclinations, they do not have a lot of social contacts. They do not have a lot of friends. That's why every interaction with other humans is valuable, but as well as is fading. The thoughts, the ideas are fading. Friendship is fading, especially if you have only one friend and you do not meet this friend again, or you do not have other friends with whom you can build up close bonds so that you do not feel this constant feeling of being alone, this loneliness, or having no one. Or this is like someone who is single most of the time and feels alone, feels lonely all the time, doesn't have anyone to meet, and so in order to keep up or feel this love or whatever it is, and because of the missing social connection, even a single connection means to be fading, especially when it is not maintained anymore. Or feelings like joy. If you only feel once joy, but this is just for a little while, not long enough, then you get depressed sometimes. And many psychopaths, they cannot maintain these feelings, and they crave for serene feelings, for this feeling, for this genuine, for this feeling that does not stop, this serene feeling, and they associate this feeling with sereneness, with never ending, with something that floods you and you feel it deeply, and it does not cease. This feeling that takes hold of you, and they try to resemble or try to fathom the cause of the feeling. And many psychopaths assume, even though it is not true, they assume that in their childhood or in some special occasions they met something, or something might have occurred where they had this special feeling, where they had or perceived this unique feeling, this unique cause, this unique situation, where where they had this feeling and it would never stop, where they could live through this feeling day and day. This is like you live through joy, through happiness, through love, without ending it, without having to face the fading, worn outness, the tastelessness. This is like if you eat every day the same, you still don't get bothered. You still taste that it is delicious. You still do not think that it has become boring or that its taste is waning. Maybe this is the cause for the dumplings. And many psychopaths then try to conserve this idealized feeling, which they assume they once perceived in their childhood. And then killing is not about ending a life. No, it is about stopping something before it wanes, before the taste or the emotion has left it, has dissipated. So psychopaths wanna keep it, wanna lock this feeling, this idea, this taste in the body, in the object they have chosen for, or they assume, which would help them to regain this feeling, regain this taste. Maybe this was all what the dumplings was all about, to regain this emotion. But if the killer was thinking that way, it is most likely that he would have cleaned the victim. Why? Because this idea of sereneness always comes with cleanness, with being untouched. Because they assume that every human touch, every human interference would lead to things getting sour, getting spoiled, things getting defiled. So human mind or human touches, human filthiness would lead to these emotions, to these serene emotions to be defiled, to be destroyed. So they wanna clean the human body from these filthy human societies in order to make it complete, in order to go back in the past again, where they can refeel and relive this one feeling which they assume never ended. But this murder is not about memory. It's not about maintaining a memory. It rather looks like punishment. But she was dressed. The victim, Karen Lee, was dressed fancily. Not fancily, but neatly for the special occasion. And then she was murdered, strangled, put on a chair, and then her eyes gouged, her ears and tongue cut off, so that she can. This is not about that she cannot see, she cannot hear or speak. This is not about preventing the victim to defile this one emotion, to defile this single serene moment or this single serene memory. This is about a punishment. Maybe a punishment about uselessness. Maybe some people, as it goes, have ears, but they hear not, have eyes, and they see not, but have tongues, and they talk not, or they speak not. This is not about this does not seem about a city in memory. Lucy looks around. She sees on the bed in the apartment a fretted morning gown, as well as the bed itself seems fretted. The bed sheets look filthy, as if the victim hasn't cleaned them for a while. And it is most likely that the victim is probably wearing or had been wearing the morning gown quite frequently and most of the time. And on the floor next to the bed, Lucy sees a pair of fretted slippers. They have the same size as the victim's feet, and most likely that Karen Leaves walked in them all day long. Lucy again takes a whiff of the slippers. Yeah, they smell heavily after feet sweat. So the murderer probably caught the victim in her fretted morning gown, as well as in her fretted slippers. And he undressed her and dressed her in her Sunday, in her best Sunday clothes. Lucy again scrutinizes the victim. Karen Leaves. No, the clothes seem to belong to her. They are not too big. They are not too tight. It is her size, as well as the shoes. They are her size. It all appears to be that these clothes belonged to the victim. Lucy tries to make sense of it. She distances herself from the table, and it all seems like that the table is the center of all attention, as if one's eye would be immediately drawn to the center of the table. Even though it is a single table, it was supposed to be for two people. Who is the second one? Maybe the killer imagined himself as the second one who would join this festive occasion, because if you, or mostly people, commemorate something together, maybe this is what this is all about a lost commemoration, or that the victim supposed to be or did not commemorate a special occasion, looked far away into the distance, didn't care about it, and then she was punished for it. Her eyes gouged, her ears and tongue cut off. This is not about punishment to this toward someone's face. It does not look like it, because mostly some psychopaths distort someone's face in order to make them unrecognizable, in order to rob them of their special features, so that they assume that this person then would become nobody and no one would ever recognize them, would not know who they are, and this would be a punishment. But this is not the case here. The nature of the punishment is not quite clear. Was it because the victim did not commemorate a special occasion, or was it just punishment because she would not listen, see, or speak. Lucy tries to put her into the killer, tries to see the world from his perspective, tries to make sense of this all. She tries to put together all the information she has into a framework, and she thinks about it deeply. You know, it is a special day. You know that this is the day you always commemorate it. Something special, a special occasion. Only you and close family members know what this is all about. You eat dumplings on this special day. It is night. You have been waiting for it. You have been thinking about it. It is a commemoration, but it is still with pain. You have lost something, a thought, something happened. It is not easy to think about what happened, but you still commemorate it. You go home in the expectation that you will be there with family members. You will be there with someone. You enter the home. You prepare the table. But somehow something is different. You have changed. That's why something is different for you, because you cannot continue as it is. From now on, or up till now, it was always the same commemoration. You always commemorated and celebrated the occasion. But then you snap. Something has changed. You cannot look at it anymore. You cannot hear it anymore. And you cannot speak about it anymore. Your gaze is in the distance. You see something else. You see in this whole thing something different. People who put on new dresses, imagine that they would be different, but you still see that nothing has changed at all. These are the same people. This is the same cause. And you more and more see, and you more and more grasp that there is no place for you on the table, because it was never your table. It was never meant for you. You did not have a part in it. So you lost yourself. You lost your way in it. You don't want to keep this memory anymore. Why would you keep this memory? Because this is not a good memory. This is not a good thought. You think it's useless. Think it's useless to go on like this. That's why you ended it. You did not preserve it. It was useless to preserve something which has no taste, which has no joy, which does not fill you with fulfillment. No, you ended something which was already fading, which had already lost any taste and value for you. You ended it because you could not look at it anymore, because you could not hear it anymore, and because you didn't want to talk about it anymore. You wanted it to stop. But you were not interested in stopping time. No, this was not your goal. You wanted to move on. You wanted to reach the next level in your life. You wanted this to leave behind. Lucy's thoughtful. She's thoughtful because she cannot understand why the victim was chosen. Karen leaves. She didn't have many friends. Lucy sees her Facebook account. She has only a few friends and almost no close friend. Close friends are those with whom you make selfies with, and celebrities do not count as close friends. So Karen was asocial. She ate dinner alone at home, and despite of the fact she was chosen, Glenn enters the scene. He looks around and then his gaze is stuck on Lucy again. It seems like that Glenn has already a theory, but he is not willing to share it with Lucy. Again, he looks at her contemptuously, and in disgust, he asks her, "Are we done?" So that forensic can wrap it up. Lucy nods in approval. She looks around the crime scene. She tries to imagine how the killer knew about the victim. Because since the victim was not much in society, she must have drawn his attention on a special occasion. Maybe while she applied for a job, or while she went out on rare occasions to buy her something. Lucy does not see any booze in Karen's home, so she was not an addict, and Karen did not have any indications that she was a drug addict. She was a little bit chubby because of the fast food. She ate a lot, but that's all. So it is a big question: how did the killer select her, or why did he select her?